Welcome to this session on Reimagining India. As the title of this session is about technology, Reimagining India, Make in India. The panel here is represented by some of the top voices from the Swedish companies. I have on my right Mats Agrevi, who's the CEO of Combient, and he's no stranger to India. He was with Ericsson and IBM and has spent about 8 years in India, knows the business environment very thoroughly. We have Hakan Bushke, who's a self-confessed Indophile, I would say. Indianholic, he says. And he is pitching to sell one of the most advanced fighters that exists in the system, the Gripen, to both the Indian Air Force and the Navy. We'll talk about that. We have with us Mr. Fredrik Fexey, who is the Deputy CEO of Business Sweden. There are 170 Swedish companies in India, and as Palka said, Sweden is one of the most important partners for Make in India. These Swedish companies have created more than 1,000 jobs in India, direct jobs. Indirect jobs, if you do the calculation, it will be more than 600,000. So we'll take some perspective from them. We also have with us a representative from Air India, which is our national carrier. It's a government-owned company, and yesterday, Air India started the first direct flight from Delhi to Stockholm. And I hope you guys take the flight back to Delhi and go and see what India is all about and come and invest in India. Let's talk about Industry 4.0, because as of now, even as we speak, in shop floors, machines are talking to each other in Europe, in Sweden, in US, under what is known as Industry 4.0 protocols. How does a country like India, how does an emerging market like India balance the need between competition and need to also ensure that labor markets are not disrupted?
Well, from my point of view, there's only one way to do it, especially for a country as India. And I totally acknowledge that there's a lot of challenges. Of course, the job market and also the poverty and there's a lot of things happening. But if you lift your mind a little bit, you can only embrace it. Because you have smart people, you have technology, and you have the market. The only way to do it is to embrace Industry 4.0 fully. And there's a few examples. I mean, will it create less jobs, or will it take away jobs, or will it create less jobs? From my point of view, it will create new jobs. We have a few things in history that I find interesting. When we saw spinning jenny coming in to the industry, in the garment industry, textile production, did it create less jobs or more jobs? It created loads of jobs. But when it came, it was a kind of a hostile thing coming in, because of course it took away a few jobs, but it also created a lot of new jobs. We have the assembly line in the beginning of the 1920s with the T4, where standardization came into the picture. You didn't need to handcraft all the cars. Now, did that create more cars or less cars? More cars. And today we all got our mail in the iPhones. I worked actually at the Swedish Postal Office, the Royal Mail. It's not the name in Sweden, but the mail. And then email came, and now we have it in our cell phone. Do we send more mails or less mails? So what happens when we introduce new technology and new ways of working, which Mats rightfully pointed out, it will create new jobs. And the only way to not be left behind is to embrace it. And in the long run, it's the only way to go. And then, of course, I do understand that it could be difficult for certain job groups in the short run, of course, but you need to take medicine.
Hakan, you said Indian companies are already embracing Industry 4.0. Yes. Can you give us some?
No, but I mean, if you look at the Tatas, Mahindras, and a lot of others, they, of course, already adopting this type of technology. And for me, it's more of a view where, of course, you see India as the market, or if you see India as an export of products around the world.
Good point.
And I think that's the second thought is the right one. And also bear in mind that in India now, we are building up capacity due to the big growth of needs India. To then do the right investment from the very beginning will bypass Indian companies on the world market due to the situation that many of companies around the world have already invested in Industry 3.0 and will have a lot of difficulties to 4.0. I think it's a good example on that, even though a lot of things are happening. It's the the east part of China. They are through an enormous change as we speak, where they can't really meet the competitiveness. So then you are coming into other things when we're talking about automation, digitalization, and that's more of a tax issue. I know it's a debated thing, but this will create more wealth. Then how to spread the wealth is a different issue, and then you can put more efforts into services well, the social sector will increase, schools is need for that. So, but if you have the engine, the industry, creating more jobs, I mean, there will be a lot of jobs needed still done by men and women. But if you create an efficient companies that could be on the world market, creating good economic growth for the nation, it will also create jobs in other areas. That's my belief.
Right, Mats, you were in India for 8 years, right? And you have worked with Ericsson and IBM there. Going by your experience in that country, how capable are Indians in terms of adopting or leading the technological innovations when it comes to Industry 4.0? Does the capability exist in terms of institutional capability in that?
I think for sure it does. And also now when we talk about Industry 4.0, I think you have to look at it from two perspectives. One is the one who is the user of it, the other one is the one who is the producer of it. And there is two different opportunities. And I mean, if we start with a user perspective of Industry 4.0, first of all, we don't drive digitalization of industry only from a cost and labor perspective. It is also because it makes it possible to launch products much faster than every time we have done before, because you get a much better efficiency. And secondly, you get a much better quality as well. And you can do jobs in a way than you can do with humans. So thereby digitalization in itself is a foundation for the new industry we have. But at the same time, I feel also that a lot of people believe that it will be factories without people. Mm-hmm. And I guess some of you probably, like me, have been and looked at the most automated car manufacturing plant, which I think is BMW in Germany. And there is certain processes which is using industry robots, but still you get amazed about how much work is done by people to put together a car. So I think from a user perspective, I think it is a must in India to drive Industry 4.0 because it builds the competitiveness of your product and your industry. But at the same time as you do, it will create a lot of new jobs, which is coming on top.
Which also means reskilling of people?
Sometimes, but at the same time, I think Fredrik, he talked about spinning Jenny, and if you look into the textile industry, that's an industry which is very hard to automate, and that's a big opportunity still, because it's a labor type of job. Mm-hmm. So I think it is about, if you look into the skill, if we talk about the usage point of view, I think you have three roles which is happening. I mean, one is more simple, if we can call a work simple, but more simple type of work, which assembly or you're working or you're putting things together, which our robots today can't do, right? And it's a big opportunity, and that will be growing. The more industry you get to India, the more of that kind of jobs you will get. The other part of that is the technical experts, and they need to be the super gurus, right? They need to be the best, and that is maybe a little bit a challenge, but it's not good enough to have an average technical person today. You need to have the best ones, right? But that group will be very important, and there I think India has a big opportunity with its background with so many IT companies. But the third one is a growing group, which is the business translators. And there, you look at US now, I read a report about that they need about 2.5 million business translators in the coming decade.
What are business translators?
A business translator is a person who understands the business, but can turn it into digitalization. So you live in two worlds, right? Mm-hmm. And that will be an extremely important group into the future, because they are the one who will drive innovation. So coming back to where I started, I think for India, you have a huge opportunity to be a user of Industry 4.0, and that will attract companies to come to you, because it is not only about robots, it is about labor still. So the combination of those two things makes India very competitive. The second opportunity for India is to be a producer of Industry 4.0. And with the industry and the knowledge you have in India, if you work with countries like us in Sweden and understand more of maybe the industry domain expertise, you can also become a big producer of Industry 4.0.
I could have followed the pattern, but I chose to crease some norms. So I picked the finest linen fabrics that match my personality. Linen Club, made for the different.
Hi, I'm Umame, and I'm with an entrepreneur, a restaurateur, a chef, and a caterer.
Hi, I'm Farooq Kambata, and I'm on The Weekender on CNBC TV18. speed, raw power, max torque. Get ready for an unmatched automotive experience. Servo presents Overdrive.
Overdrive, presented by Servo, world-class lubricants from Indian Oil.
First time home buyer. Only on CNBC TV18. Step beyond the millions and understand the secrets of money that will change your financial life. And learn how to get money, how to keep money, and how to grow money. CNBC TV18 presents Die Poor or Live Rich by Snehadeep Fulzile. SMS CD Rich to 51818 or mail us at cd@network18online.com. Order your copy today.
ओलंपिक्स में इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करना मेरे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा सपना था और मेरी तरह इंडिया में ऐसे बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो देश के लिए मेडल जीतना चाहते हैं, पर जब तक माँ बाप और स्कूल पढ़ाई और स्पोर्ट्स को एक जैसे इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं देंगे तब तक इंडिया खेल जगत के शिखर पर नहीं पहुँचेगा। स्पोर्ट्स को स्कूलों में कंपलसरी सब्जेक्ट बनाने के लिए टाटा टी HRD मिनिस्ट्री को एक पेटिशन भेजने वाले हैं। इस मुहिम में आप हमारे साथ जुड़िए और पेटिशन साइन करने के लिए 7847844444 पे मिस्ड कॉल दीजिए।
जागो, जागो, जागो रे।
Over the past 17 years, CNBC TV18 has shaped India's business landscape and driven the Indian entrepreneurial story by bringing you the biggest disruptors and their breakthrough ideas. This month, youngsters travel to startup capitals of the globe to see how frontier technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning are revolutionizing the industry, and brings you face to face with the people driving this change. From Elevate Bangalore to Start Tel Aviv to the EU startup India Connect. CNBC TV18 is the channel of choice for India's top innovators and owners.
The truth is never simple, but dig for truth we must, especially when it comes to our cities and our lives. Join me every week as I track out the big urban issues and all the noise surrounding real estate. From traffic nightmares to metro connectivity, from affordable homes to smart cities.
The Urban Reality with Manisha Natarajan. These times, only on CNBC TV18.
Palka, would you want to come in on this? Because you made very interesting points regarding how we could go forward regarding Industry 4.0.
It's just taking an example of, let's say, the power sector. Like just we mentioned about how India has to make a transition. But India also has an opportunity because India is an unexplored market. Like coming to the power sector, I've worked in the power sector myself in the country. And I can see, let's come to metering. Like if people move from manual meters to digital to smart, but there are unexplored areas in the country where you do not have a meter. So you start with a smart meter, and comes to jobs, you create newer jobs by people who are trying to analyze the data out of the smart meter. He doesn't need to move physically, but then because if there's a smart meter there, not only it creates energy efficiency, as a user, a consumer is benefited, as well as a producer, the government company is also benefited. So India, seeing India in the perspective of Industry 4.0, we also are an advantage because of this unexplored potential in terms of automation. So we will make this jump, and when we make this jump, this huge repository of the human resources we have, not just reskilling, I think the first time skilling also can be to a higher level skill. And let's not look at our country as a country of manual labor only. So our young population is educated to make a transition. But India also has an opportunity because India is an unexplored market. Like coming to the power sector, I've worked in the power sector myself in the country. And I can see, let's come to metering. Like if people move from manual meters to digital to smart, but there are unexplored areas in the country where you do not have a meter. So you start with a smart meter, And when it comes to jobs, you create newer jobs by people who are trying to analyze the data out of the smart meter. He doesn't need to move physically, but then because if there's a smart meter there, not only it creates energy efficiency, as a user, a consumer is benefited, as well as a producer, the government company is also benefited. So India, seeing India in the perspective of Industry 4.0, we also are an advantage because of this unexplored potential in terms of automation. So we will make this jump, and when we make this jump, this huge repository of the human resources we have, not just reskilling, I think the first time skilling also can be to a higher level skill. And let's not look at our country as a country of manual labor only. So our young population is educated, IT enabled, so they can pick up fast and become a part of this job market, which is not just an assembly line production.
So why should a company offer its technology and investments and money to have facilities in India? What does it take for a company to do or make have such a decision?
It's the same fact for us. 99.9% of the world population doesn't live in Sweden. 16% live in India. And we are much taller than Sweden. We are not a superpower, but we have the finest technology. And to find partners with equal values and share common use, to share something is also extremely good, because that will create also greater opportunities for us to do more investments in India, to develop even further. But it will also have a good effect on the Swedish defense capability due to have a partnership, exactly the same way we have done it in Brazil. So for us, we need partnerships. We are a small country and need to partner and share technology. You can't have anything if you don't are willing to share or do something. It's a wrong thought. On the end of the day, you find models, and we have shown that in other countries where we can also share the outcome of that type of technology transfer.
Right. Ferry, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah, I think we're on to something really important here, because what I find really interesting is that India has such much potential, but it's about unleashing it. And what I think sometimes we talk about the smile curve, you probably know it. Where do we bring the most value into products? And it's definitely a higher value when you invent something than to produce it. So what I think could be very beneficial in India is to basically look into when will we see great innovations coming from India? And we have some of the smartest people I know are definitely from India. And why don't we get a lot of innovations? And just using, if you look at Sweden, we're like 9 million people. When we had our greatest inventions, we were only 3 or 4 million people. It's like one small area of South Delhi. And we have fantastic companies like Combient and Saab, Ericsson, and so forth. It's basically about what are you focusing on, and what game are we playing. So there's a difference between Tendulkar being a cricket player, is that perhaps I'm a better cricket player than Tendulkar. Perhaps I'm the world's best cricket player, but we don't play cricket in Sweden. We don't know the rules. I couldn't even gather a team. There's some teams coming up now, actually, but we don't have. So basically, it's about what game do you play? India should play the game of innovation.
Saab is the only one building a new fighter today, new submarine, at least in our part of the world. But what I think is a huge opportunity for India, and I believe if you should develop these type of high profile and high technology products, is to have the whole process together. You can't just have people doing design and engineering and then you ask someone, can you produce it for me? Mm-hmm. It has to be combined. And I think that is the most important lesson learned. I think most of my colleagues, CEOs around the world, if you can't talk to each other, the guy doing the design...
Can't be in silos.
Yes, skilled engineers, skilled designers, skilled workforce, and you can, due to the density of population, you can put people together. Don't just think that you should do only design and engineering or something like that. It's the combination, bringing people together and create that type of environment that will create competitiveness for India.
Right. I think we have less than 5 minutes, right? Let's end our discussion on the point regarding innovation. DIPP again is taking the lead in what is known as Startup India. If you can just tell us about what has it meant in terms of thinking about such a program for encouraging innovation, and what do we see in the recent future as far as startup is concerned? Either you or Dushyant, if you can give a quick perspective.
So maybe just a couple of points. I think I'll just go back to that starting line that, we are talking about here more about job creators than job seekers. And India, we are talking about, 10 million jobs a year. Where do they come from?
Right.
So that's what is being instilled in our systems. We are trying to see that, so from the perspective of startups, that's what we've seen, that there's a huge amount of interest which is there amongst, Indian people which are there. They're all very well educated. And that's where, Government of India has launched Startup India. Very clearly, there's a facilitation aspect which we are handling there. And just to share some numbers, we've had something like 60,000, queries which we have, responded to in less than a year and a half. So that just shows, what sort of interest is there. And I did share, a couple of numbers in the presentation of how it's sort of going up. But it's again something which is not happening only at a national level. Startups is something which is happening at a state level. So I would say since January 2016, 11 states in India have actually come up with startup policies. And it is a very critical aspect of, the overall industrial policy of the state, and, all of them are sort of into that.
Okay, so the red card is up, but, I would want, yeah, sure.
Just a short comment. One thing that we see now, we see it globally, but we see it in Sweden, is the combination of startups and global leaders. So the combination of companies like Saab and Comias and startup. Opening up the labs like ABB is doing and so forth. A lot of companies are doing that. That's something that is also worth looking into.
Yeah, so Hakan, Matt and Sir, I would want you three guys to the concluding remarks on a topic which is related to innovation, and that is accepting failure. Because it seems that Indian companies need to be, while some of them are engaged in R&D, most of them are R&D averse, would not want to put in capital when it comes to R&D. How is it okay to fail when it comes to innovation and R&D? And if so, how do you take that failure and then turn it into your success story?
The whole cell phone was an innovation coming from the development of the Gripen radar or the data link, and the management tried to avoid putting money into it, and that's our whole existence today. And I, being the leader, and also I had 3 engineers examine myself, probably a very poor engineer ending up as the CEO. But if I looking into all the smart people we have at Saab, if you create an environment, if you put and also listen to the people, what they have possibility to do, then you will foster an environment where you can develop things also according to schedules that you have. But at the same time, solving these type of difficult problems, people need free time to do a little bit things of their own. So there we also giving money or shares in the company for the best skunk work of the year. And some of the scheduled things is not going in the right direction, so we have lost some money on that. On the other side, the skunk work gives us a tremendous lot of possibility. What I mean is that when you're dealing with things very much on the R things, research, and especially when it comes to things that you can't Google, and bringing people together and learn from the failures, because then you can take next step and create a positive momentum for next technology move.
Matt and Pankaj, you have just 1 minute, right?
All right.
Yeah, if you can just conclude the...
If I listen to CEOs, I think this is a fair statement for most of them. They have never been stronger than they are today. They have never been more uncertain about the future than they are today as well. Regardless if you're building a truck or a car or an aircraft, I think most people are pretty uncertain about how will it be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, with all the new technology. So when you look into the future, would you put your bet only on your R&D internally and believe that they know what's going on? I don't think it would be a good bet. So the only way to survive today is to open up, work with others, learn from others, be open and follow what's happening. And one way of doing it is like we do together, to talk with other industries, create networks where you can discuss and learn from others. The other part is to open up against the startup world, because failure is a natural part of learning something new, and we need to embrace that. And the cheap way to fail is to do it together because you share the risk. Another one is, of course, to work with startup companies because they are much faster, more efficient, and you can fail together with them. So I think if we talk about the future, we want to embrace failure because we're all learning, but we have to learn together.
That's the last word. Thank you for joining us. We are completely out of time, and thank you for joining this session.